Hi, welcome to another episode of Thinking Outside the Box on Noah's Ark. Today we're going to learn how to master a stereo mix on a semi-professional reel-to-reel tape machine. There are mainly two categories of tape machine out there. So on the one hand, you have multi-track tape recorders where you record individual separate tracks and you use that for mixing. So famously, you have this machine called the Studer A800 multi-track tape recorder. On the other hand, you have mastering tape machines, two-track recorders, and famously you have the Ampix ATR 102, and these are used more for mastering. So we're going to focus on the latter for the purpose of this video. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the process of mastering, well, it's the last step of music production where another experienced engineer will re-evaluate a mix, and the person is going to make sure that it's going to be optimal for distribution on as many different types of medium out there. And rather than working on several different instrument tracks, mixing that to a stereo file, well, the mastering engineer will work directly on the stereo mix. So all the processing done is going to be printed onto the whole soundscape. So a typical standard mastering workflow starts with EQ and compression, and whether it be single band or multi-band compression. Then it's going to be followed by special processing such as an exciter or stereo imager. And then finally, we're going to apply a limiter or maximizer. So the master engineer also commonly applies possible fades there can be in the tracks, and also dithers with noise shaping if the bit depth of the output medium is reduced. When working on albums, well, mastering engineer are also going to check level balance between the tracks, and also some will decide on the track order and the timing between the tracks, as well as encoding some metadata on the output medium. So in the context of mastering, some people like to print the stereo mix on a tape machine to give this analog feel. So in practice, what does that mean? Well, the tape machine is going to first color the sound by applying a EQ curve depending on the machine. Also, it's going to apply tape compression depending on the tape formula, the tape width, and also the tape speed. And last but not least, it's going to add non-linearities to the master, such as wow and flutter, hum and hiss, and also crosstalk between the two channels. So let's talk about the different EQ curves and tape speeds out there. Well, in terms of EQ curves, you have three main EQ curves out there. There's, depending on the machine, you can have the US standard, which is the NAB EQ curve, and it's going to produce a hum cycle of 60 Hertz. And you also have the European standard called CCIR, where the hum cycle is going to be at 50 Hertz. Then you also have another fairly recent standard, which is called the AES standard from the Audio Engineering Society. So these EQ curves are used in conjunction with different tape speed. So generally in mastering, you're going to use either 15 inches per second or 30 inches per second. But you can also master at 7.5, and very rarely you're going to master at 3.75. In general, faster tape speed will have more fidelity and less coloration. But the lower you get, well, the more you have a loss of higher frequencies. And also you're going to get this bass bump on the lower side of the spectrum. Depending on the genre of music, different tape formulas or tape speed are going to be preferred and are going to be better suited for the material. So now let's compare two different tape speeds, 7.5 inches per second and 15 inches per second using this machine. So this machine is a Revox PR99 tape recorder. I have a 1/4 inch reel of Quantity 406 tape, and the EQ curve is going to be CCIR. So let's compare the two tape speeds.
years alive. There's reason to believe.
So that's it, mastering with a reel-to-reel tape machine with all the warmth you ever wished for. So if you like this tutorial, well, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you soon for another video.